Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone, and a very warm welcome to you from wherever you are joining us today. We are going to get underway with our Dover Campus Junior School Virtual Open Day in just a few minutes. So welcome, and please bear with us. We will just take a few minutes to get started to allow our audience time to join us this afternoon. So again, welcome. Please bear with us. We will get underway in just a few moments. And while you're waiting for us to get started with the presentation, I'm going to invite you to enjoy a short video which shows you what a day in the life of our junior school looks like on the Dover campus. Louisa, could you play the video? Thank you. Okay, hello and welcome again. I know we've still got a few more people joining this webinar today. So while you're waiting, I'm just going to go through some introductions about today, give you a sense of our program. Here it is, and then we will get underway with the presentation. So good afternoon and welcome. My name is Malika Ramdas. I'm Director of Admissions at the college, and we are delighted that you have chosen to join us today to learn more about our Dover Campus Junior School in particular. So today's session is a webinar presentation. We will have a few minutes right now, which is just an overview of the session, what the different elements of the program are. And after that, we're going to invite you to respond to a short poll to just learn what you are most interested in hearing more about today. Then we will turn to the Junior School Learning Program presentation, which will be delivered by our principal and vice principals in the junior school. You will also have the pleasure of hearing from one of our high school students who went through the junior school, and actually even a few years before that, our infant school. And then you will, in the course of the presentation, also get to enjoy some primary school student voices as well. After that, we will have an opportunity for your questions to be answered by our learning leadership team in the junior school. So we'll have about 20 minutes of Q&A time. And then we will take you on a virtual tour of the Dover Campus Junior School. So that is a brand new virtual tour, and we are excited to have you experience that with us today. We will then have a very quick feedback survey inviting you to give us your thoughts on today's program. But that is not the end of the program, because we will conclude with about 30 to 40 minutes of question and answer time with the, excuse me, with a panel from admissions. So I will be joined by some of my colleagues, and that will be an opportunity for your admissions related questions. Now, I'm just going to give you a moment to locate your Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, which is where we would invite you to submit your questions during any part of the program, and particularly during the Q&A session. And now you have a poll which should have appeared in front of you. So I invite you to respond to the poll and tell us what you're most interested in hearing more about. So just take a few moments to do that. Thank you so much. And to those of you who are just joining us right now, we haven't yet quite started with our presentation. This is an opening poll inviting you to tell us what you're most interested to learn more about today. And we're going to keep the poll open for just another couple of seconds and give folks a chance to respond. So please submit your response if you would like to. Thank you so much. And I can see a few more responses coming in, so we'll just give people a chance to respond. Thank you. And as we might expect, you're excited to learn more about our K through 12 learning program, and particularly the nature of the learning program in our junior school. Lots of interest in the academics and how learning works in the junior school. Great. So thank you very much. We will now give you a chance to have a look at what everyone's interested in learning more about today. Thank you for that. And I would like to let you know that today's presentation will be recorded, and the recording will be shared on our website in a few days' time. And it will also be sent to you with our follow-up email to everyone who registered for today's session. So if you are unable to stay through to the end of the presentation, that whole presentation will be shared with you in a recording of it tomorrow or in a day or two. So with that, we are now ready to begin, and it's my great pleasure to introduce you to our learning leadership team in the primary school on the Dover campus. We have with us today our principal, Brian Omeloin, and he's joined by our two vice principals in the junior school, Alison Ziemer and Erin Bellevue. Over to you, Brian.
Okay, so can I add my welcome to you all as well? And I know some of you are probably getting up in the middle of the night, so good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. I'm just here to introduce you to, as best we can, to the junior school program. And we realize as well that you are not just choosing a school for your junior school child, you're hopefully choosing a school for your child's whole school career. So from time to time, you will hear us mentioning higher up in the school so that you know as well where your child is going after junior school. So there's my name there, Brian Omeloin, and a lot of people find it difficult. It's a Gaelic name from Ireland, and people find it very hard to believe that there could be that many vowels all stuck together in one name. It's been called a crisis of consonants. So as the first sign that we have, that you have, sorry, that we are a kind and caring school, Louisa, if you could move on to the next slide, that's what the children actually call me. So I'm called Mr. O. I joined the school in the year 2000 as a grade 2 teacher. And I've been head of grade, vice principal, and I've been principal for, I think, 13 years. That little bundle of smiles in the center of that photograph is my daughter, Maeve. So she is now actually in grade 9. And I have 3 children who have all come through the school, all came through all the way from infants through juniors. And I must say, got a fantastic grounding for their future careers in middle school and high school. We couldn't be happier as parents. My wife also teaches in the school in the art department. And so, yeah, we love it here. You know, it's a long time to be here, and our teachers do stay for a long time, which is also a really good sign of any school. I would like to introduce you now to the leadership team with me. Louisa, if you could move on. So Alison Ziemer and Erin Bellevue, you will be hearing from them later. They're both Canadian. And I'm afraid we are not the best advertisement for the youthful enthusiasm of the children, that there is no other way of showing you that other than being here. So we're really sorry that you can't actually meet children. Normally we have them touring people around, but we have a little video that might replace some of that for you later so that you can get a little bit of a flavor of that. So without further ado, I would, oh no, sorry, I have one more slide. Can I just get to the next slide just to show you the school structure? So we are a K-12 school. We are very, very aware and very intentionally address the fact that we are a very large school. It is a big school. We go from, this is primary school, K1 through to grade 5. And then the middle school grades are 6, 7, and 8, and then high school 9, 10, 11, and 12. What we do in the primary school, which is the umbrella term for infants and juniors, we create smaller and smaller areas for the children so that they feel like their cocoon is their grade level. So in primary school, there are 2 schools, infants and juniors, and then within that, each grade level has their own pod. And in each pod has 5 rooms around and 2 rooms outside. And interspersed amongst those are specialist rooms, those kinds of things. But what we do very intentionally is to make sure that big doesn't become big and scary. Okay, I would like to introduce you next to Joel. Joel is one of our, he's now in high school, but Joel came right through the school. And so we've intentionally chosen a high school student who has been through the entire gamut of the school, just to give you a flavor of that. So Louisa, next slide, please. And I will hand you over to Joel.
Sorry, everyone. So hi, everyone. My name is Joel, and this year I'm in grade 12. I've been at UWC since K1, so this is my 14th year at the college. And the photo on the screen there is a photo of my first day at school. So as a student in the junior school, there are a variety of experiences available that cover different areas of the UWC learner profile. And today I'm going to speak to you about some of these opportunities. So firstly, service. The service program at UWC is integrated within the classroom curriculum, but there's also the chance for students to raise awareness and funds for different organizations in regional countries through what we call Global Concern or GC groups. Each grade in the junior school supports a specific GC. So for example, the grade 5 GC is the Temple Garden Foundation, which works to support the Temple Garden Foundation NGO that's located in Cambodia. And this NGO helps people who are living in poverty by providing them with basic necessities and helping them to establish an income. All of our GCs have an optional lunchtime activity where students have the chance to plan and run different fundraisers, such as bake sales, movie nights, and fun fairs. And when I was in grade 3, I was involved in the lunchtime activity for the GC. We planned a movie night and we ran multiple bake sales, which gave us the opportunity to develop skills and qualities such as commitment to care, collaboration, and critical thinking. So this involves being able to identify and solve problems during the planning stages of our fundraiser. In grades 4 and 5, all students are involved in a large fundraiser to support their grade's GC. So grade 4 students collect donations to dance for 2 hours in a dance-a-thon. And in grade 5, we participated in a sponsored walkathon. We walked or ran as many laps as we could around the AYE field at school in 2.5 hours. And that's a field in the photo behind me. Prior to the event, we collected donations from family and friends. I remember ringing up my aunts and uncles, my cousins and my grandparents, asking them if they'd like to sponsor me to walk for 2.5 hours. This involved me explaining more about the GC and where the funds would go, which is as important as raising the actual funds. During the walkathon, some of us would run and some of us would walk. But what we learned out of it was a skill of empathy. Being able to connect with people who have to walk 10 kilometers every day just to drink clean water from a well. But the way we learned this was unique. Could you please switch the slide? So every year in junior school, there is a different expedition that we go on. And depending on the trip, the students get to do different activities such as trekking, climbing, rafting, and snorkeling. I love the grade 4 expedition to the island of Cebu. And the photo there is when we left for our trip in the morning. We got to go snorkeling and build shelters, as well as trekking to the local village on the island, where we met some children at their school. These trips take us out of our comfort zone and immerse us in different cultures. Could you please switch the slide, Louisa? So outdoor education trips continue through middle school and into high school. For example, in grade 9, there are the option to go on trips such as trekking in the dark, mountain biking in Australia, climbing in China, as well as snowshoeing in Japan. I chose to do a whitewater kayaking trip in Nepal, where we spent 5 days kayaking through a river in the Himalayas. And that's the photo there that you can see on your screen. It was one of the most adrenaline pumping experiences of my life. Hopefully the world will return to some sense of normality soon so that these opportunities can resume. Could you please switch the slide, Louisa? Every year, each grade is involved in an arts festival, which celebrates what was learned in the arts over the year. It's a drama performance that usually acts out a story with a twist. So for example, in grade 3, we performed the story Lost and Found by Oliver Jeffers, and that's there on the screen. Arts festivals were always a highlight for me. After weeks of practice, we perform on stage and we'd feel like stars. Could you please switch the slide, Louisa? In grade 5, we have a big project known as the Grade 5 Expo. And over the course of a month, we'd work to research an issue that's usually environment related and is significant today. The aim is to find a sustainable solution to that problem and to design an engaging and interactive presentation about it. We'd work with the help of mentors who would give us some advice throughout the process. And then for 2 days, we present our findings to other students within the school, as well as other schools from around Singapore. From developing our research skills to finding sustainable paths into the future, the Expo is a true culmination of all the things that we learned throughout junior school. For my Expo, I focus on how we, as a society, could reduce the amount of books that we buy. For example, by creating a book exchange platform. And that photo there is a photo of my Expo presentation. The teachers in junior school are fantastic. They are so welcoming, supportive, and encouraging. And even now, whenever I see them, I always say hi to them and have a chat. They're the people who have helped to guide me to where I am now and helped to discover some of my passions today. I recently bumped into a teacher assistant from grade 1. She wasn't the teacher assistant for my class, but she recognized me. We spoke briefly, and then as I walked off, I heard her speaking to one of the other teachers, saying how I was in Miss Rosie's class when I was younger. I find it amazing how she, 12 years later, and without ever teaching me, knew whose class I was in. This really shows the connection that the school has. Could you please switch the slide? Thank you. Lots of the things that I learned and experimented with in junior school have helped to shape the choices that I make now. In grade 5, we had 1 hour a week to work on our iTime project, where we could make and create anything that we wanted to. We didn't have many limitations, as the intention was for us to discover new interests. I made a pinball machine out of wood, nails, rubber bands, and pegs. I planned my whole project from start to finish, researching different designs and ideas. What materials work best, and how much would they cost? Through this, I found my love for designing and manufacturing products. And in grade 9 and 10, I chose to take design and technology as one of my subjects. One of my other favorite subjects is science, and I think this is because of dissection day in grade 4. Dissection day is a hands-on learning experience about different animal organs. It was really interesting for me once I got my head around all of the blood and stuff. But being able to see how hearts, lungs, and muscles function is pretty awesome. So I thought you'd like to hear a little bit more about what happens after this particular section of the school. So following junior school is middle school, where there are even more opportunities for students. There's the option to go on an exchange through the organization Roundsquare. And in a nutshell, Roundsquare is a group of more than 200 schools from around the world that run conferences to discuss certain topics such as sustainability, and they also offer exchanges within the schools. It has a similar philosophy to UWC, as it was also founded by Kurt Hahn. Could you please switch the slide? I was lucky enough to be able to go on a 5-week exchange to Switzerland a couple of years ago, and the photo on the screen there is me and my exchange student Tom on the top of a mountain. It was one of the most memorable experiences of my life. I was in a different country, in a different climate, and over 10,000 kilometers away from my family. It was pretty special to look out the window during class and to see snow falling. You can't get that in the tropics. So UWC is unique in many different ways, but one of the most significant things is an incredible amount of diversity amongst the students. Joining the school in K1, I've been able to grow up and learn with a diverse group of people. This is something that has really shaped who I am today. Being immersed in different cultures has helped me to understand and realize the different ways that people think. It has helped to frame how I view the world. The success of the future of our world is going to be through the collaboration between different cultures, religions, and nationalities. And UWC helps you to become a person who is open to those differences, their various backgrounds and cultures. UWC has played a big part in defining who I am becoming. It has helped to shape a lot of the things that I do now, and I realize that I still have a long way to go. But the choices that I make today build on the backbone that primary school provided, that middle school developed further, and that all made sense to me in high school. I hope to see you around the school. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Joel. Fantastic. And I hope that did give you a flavor of it. We really are conscious of the fact that you're choosing a school for longer than primary school. So I hope we don't go overboard on that. but we did want to make sure that you feel, or you get a feeling for all of the school, not just primary. So let's go back to primary school. If you could please, Louisa. So that might be a strange question or a strange slide to see on a school's open day. In what ways are we the same? And we certainly don't have a sign up in front of the school saying, hello, we are the same as everyone else. But we're also conscious that you're transitioning from another school. And so I do want to assure you that, of course, we are in many, many ways, and in the ways that you would expect, very, very similar to any other international school that you're currently in. That photograph there is of one of our classroom teachers. Your children, when they join this school, will spend the absolute bulk of their time with their classroom teacher, and then they have specialist teachers for music, art, PE, and for whatever language they choose. We are, you know, we teach, obviously, you know, your children will learn maths and they will learn literacy, science and social studies, all of those things that you would expect from any good school. And so in those ways, we're very much the same, and it is a very easy school to transition into. If you could go to the next slide, please, Louisa. So then in what ways are we different? And I think probably the best way to show you that is if we just move to the next slide, please, Louisa. There's a graphic there. So that shows what we call our learning program rather than our syllabus or our curriculum. We include in that the academics, activities, service, and outdoor education, and of course academics. And this you will find in schools variously called educating the whole child, or a holistic approach, or whatever term you want to use for it. We really mean it here. We graph it out in this way in a circle for a reason, because we don't believe that any particular element is any more important than any other element. We, of course, that is not the same thing as saying that they all get equal time, that they all get equal money, because of course they don't. By a country mile, the academics in the school gets the most money, it gets the most time in the week, all of those things that you would expect. But we don't see the point of developing children who are only good at exams, or who are only good at, you know, performing well in a table quiz. We don't see the point of having service which is just about doing good work, where they don't actually understand what the good work is that they're doing. So it's all intertwined and intermixed, interdisciplinary, all those kinds of things. But we are really, I think, unique in terms of the really the gold standard in terms of our approach to service, our you know, including activities as part of our program. You won't hear the term extracurricular activities in the school, because we don't believe that they are extra to anything. We believe that they're a major part of the child's whole development. We, if you could move on to the next slide, please, Louisa. So our academic program is, yeah, that's fine. We're going to move on to that video. So our academic program is our own. And we have chosen from all kinds of different curricula from around the world. A lot of Common Core from the US, UK National Curriculum, Ontario, some Australian things, New Zealand, Ireland for PSE. Quite a lot of our, a lot of what we have chosen to be the best practice that we think, that in our opinion was the best practice from around the world. And we have put that all together into what we call a concept-based curriculum. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. One of our directors of teaching and learning, Carolyn Marshall, has put together a video that explains to you what concept-based teaching and learning actually means, because you hear that phrase quite a lot. And then at the other end of that video, I will talk a little bit about that as well. So if you could just play the video, please, Louisa.
What is concept-based learning? Concept-based learning is centered around big ideas. Ideas so universal that they transfer across place, time, and situation. Content is important, so students must acquire knowledge and skills within each discipline. But the ability to make sense of their knowledge and skills in the world around them is just as important. This doesn't happen by accident. Students are given a variety of experiences so that they develop conceptual understandings, significant ideas that transfer to new contexts. This ensures that they thrive in a complex and unknown future. The Uwcsea concept-based curriculum leads to the IB diploma in grades 11 and 12 and is developed from our mission. Our educational goal is that students embrace challenge and take responsibility for shaping a better world. To do this, they must develop higher order thinking skills and apply their learning to diverse situations. Because our community is so international and diverse, our students bring a wide range of experiences, knowledge, and skills with them when they join us. A concept-based curriculum allows them to connect their prior learning to our experiences at school, as well as develop deep understanding. How do we develop conceptual understanding in our students? Concept-based learning goes hand in hand with learners having a diverse and broad range of experiences. This is achieved through all 5 elements of our holistic learning program: academics, activities, outdoor education, personal and social education, and service. We explicitly plan for concept-based learning by asking conceptual questions and teaching through inquiry, exposing students to content that stretches and deepens their thinking, fostering dialogue and collaboration, asking students to generalize and apply their ideas to new contexts. Together, these experiences support the development of conceptual understanding in our students.
Okay, thank you. If you could move to the next slide, please, Louisa, and I'll just talk a little bit more about one. So here's a question that we often ask. Just click within this slide, Louisa. So when you have 91 nationalities in a school, whose history do you teach? So when you're designing the program that you want to deliver to the children, how do you answer that question? Whose history? And schools do this in many different ways. This is a question that is asked in many, many international schools around the world. I first was confronted with this idea at the International School of Brussels, for example, this exact question. And schools do it differently. We have, for example, in this country, we have schools that are delivering, or that are very much centered, at least, around the British national curriculum. The Australian curriculum, Canadian school is here, the American school is here, and they are all excellent schools. And so then we know that if you are growing up as a citizen of one of those countries, or if you're growing up as a citizen in that area, it is important to know where you've come from, how the country has developed in that way, and your own history and your own, civic duty and your own citizenship. When you've got all of them in one school, that's a much more difficult question to answer. And so we could, again, we could say, let's do a little bit of everybody's, but that would be patently ridiculous. And so what we do instead is we look for big ideas. We look for common themes and patterns. And so if we take a concept like, for example, if we took conflict, for example, and we know that no good international school is ever going to allow children to go through from K to 12 without doing quite an in-depth study on World War II eventually, because that still shapes the socio-political realities of this world. How do we approach that? We approach that in all the way from K1. We're not talking about World War II yet, but we are looking at the roots of what causes conflict in the playground. How do we resolve conflicts? How do we build for peace? And so all of those things, we build on them year upon year upon year, and in a spiral way and with more nuance. And in exactly the same way that we look at our service program. We know that little children don't understand very much more than money helps poor people. And that's okay. They're not the last teachers that children are ever going to have. And we build upon that layer by layer and year upon year. And in a kind of a progression, which is single causes, multiple interwoven causes. So it's done in that way, very, very deliberately and very, very intently. And we do that in a spiral way all the way through the school. Okay, next slide, please. So again, just to go back to the wheel, this is very much a holistic whole child approach to the school, and it's concept based because it has to be. We look at big ideas, we choose content around those ideas, And then we looked in the UK, we looked at Common Core, we looked at Ontario and all those places to find what are the kind of, sort of things that they're hitting in grade 3, that they're hitting in grade 4. It seems to be true that they're doing the human body. Some places they do it in grade 4, some places they do it in grade 5. And so we thought this is some content that's worth knowing. We teach that through the concept of interdependency, and we still are hitting those benchmarks that you would expect to see at that age level in most countries. Okay, I am ready to hand you over to the vice principals. Ali, I believe you're the one who starts, and I will see you a little bit at the end. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Louisa. Hi, everybody. I am Ali Ziemer. As Brian said, I am one of the vice principals here in the junior school. And like Brian, I have been here for quite some time. I started here 19 years ago. Actually, in a class the other day, I said 19 years ago, and a little kid said 90 years. But no, not quite that old. Some days I feel that way. But those are my beautiful children in that picture. And they have also come up from K1 all the way through. And my daughter Riley is now in grade 10 and my son is in grade 7. So I know the school from the inside as a staff member and from the outside as a parent. And as a family, we have loved it here. And so hopefully if you choose us, you will too. Next slide, please. All right, I wanted to start my time with you with just giving you a quick overview of what a day could look like. So we have a UWC profile and our values, which run K to 12. So this is a thread that pulls through all the way when kids start in kindergarten, all the way to grade 12. We are talking about these profile. What skills and qualities do we want kids to have? So how do we want them to act and what do we want them to be able to do? And that's one benefit of being a K to 12 school, is being able to follow that through and define what does it mean to be resilient when you are in kindergarten, what does it mean to be resilient when you're in grade 5, and how is that different in grade 12? Next slide, please. In the primary school, we have taken that profile, those qualities and skills, and broken them down into 5 easier to understand, child-friendly, age-appropriate expectations that we use when we're just talking with children about how we interact in our community with each other. And so you can see them there. All of the teachers in our community use these same 5 expectations when we're talking to children. So in the classroom, a teacher might say, what does it mean to be brave in math? Or what does it mean to be kinder than necessary during reading and writing? And similarly, in PE, a teacher might say, how do we have fun together in PE? Or how are we going to respect the equipment we're using in PE? And so this language becomes a part of what the children know and expect around school. And it builds into a sense of safety for them because they really do know how the adults around them expect them to behave and will behave back to them. And we also ask that parents kind of transfer this language home as well, so that students are getting a consistent message between home and school. Next one. All right, so our PSE curriculum is both proactive and reactive. And one of the ways we facilitate that is through something called Circle Solutions. So this is a time when a classroom teacher would, pre-COVID, gather the children on the carpet. Now we are at desks, unfortunately, at the moment, but we would gather on the carpet and follow a particular set of expectations and discuss different themes and worries for the children. Proactively, we know the types of things that come up for kids at different ages. And so we've planned that into our written curriculum. And it is timetabled into our time during the week and day to have these conversations built around that curriculum. However, there are always things that can come up. And so we can use this time also to react to issues that come up on the playground or things that are happening in the wider world and community. So COVID is a good example of that. We've used this time to help children allay some of their worries about what is going on in the world and just talk about those things openly. Okay, next slide, please. Another program that we've started to run at school is the peer support program. And this is a really great way for us to build connection and community amongst our students. This program is where we have trained the grade 5 students to be the teachers. And so they had a 2-day training where they learned different strategies and lessons that they then took into classrooms of mixed grade students. So we mixed up the grades 2s, 3s, and 4s into smaller groups, and the grade 5s go in and teach lessons around social emotional learning. So maybe about how to be a good friend or how to resolve conflict with friends. And it's a really great opportunity for us to build connection across so that kids from different grades know each other and see each other on the playground and say hello, but also for our grade 5 students to build some leadership skills and take some ownership and responsibility. And it's been a very successful program. And you can see the teacher there. I think the significant thing about this picture is the teacher is there, but she's really there as a supervisor, and the kids are running the session and she's outside the circle because it really is about the kids running it with each other. All right, I hope that gives you a bit of an overview about our PSE program and how important it is to us that our children are emotionally well and are building the skills that they need to lead happy lives. I'm going to turn you over to Erin now. Thanks, Louisa.
Hello, everyone. I'm Erin Beliveau, and I am the other vice principal. And I have been teaching for many years, way more than I'd like to actually admit, but I have been a staff member at UWC for the past 11 years and a vice principal for the past 3 years. It's my 4th year in the role. So I'm going to start out by just also saying that I am one of the lucky people who have had my children be able to go through this school. And I am just such a proud parent that my child has had the opportunity. So my daughter started in K1 and she is now in grade 7. And she would say that she would rather be at school than at home with us. So for me, that's just a testament to the staff and the program that we're offering and the support that she feels when she walks onto campus every day. And so we just are very fortunate to be a part of that for her. Next slide, please. So I'm going to give you a little bit more detail about our outdoor education program. So you've already had a really good perspective of it from from Joel, excuse me, and what it was like for him as he went through the school. And so our outdoor education program is one of our elements that we value greatly, and it helps with the overall development and learning of all of our students. Next slide, please. So Kurt Hahn, who was our UWC founder, he believed firmly that it was important for students to have the opportunity to develop outside of classroom walls. And so based on his beliefs, we have defined our program, and our purpose of our outdoor education program is to allow our students to connect to nature, to develop a better understanding of themselves, to have healthy relationships with each other as they go through risk-taking activities and they have to offer support to each other, and then to develop new skills that are going to happen out in the field as it would be, as opposed to being sitting at a desk in their classroom. Next slide, please, Louisa. So Joel had a better perspective of kind of our outdoor education program when he went through as a student in our pre-COVID days. So our program starts in grade 1 when the students have the opportunity to sleep over in their classroom, and then it expands in different levels of risk-taking and challenges and increases up until they get into grade 11 when they're able to then plan their own trip and go out into the world and lead their own trips in something that we call Project Week. And when they are with us in the junior school, they have the opportunity in grade 2 to sleep over at the zoo. And then we've had some trips where they have gone into Malaysia, where, as Joel had mentioned, that they have done some river tracing and orienteering and some whitewater rafting and some exciting things like that. So, which has been wonderful. So then we have gone on to our new situation, Louisa. Thank you, where we've had to alter our program. We haven't altered it in the impact in any way. It is still a fantastic program. We've just had to change the location of where everything is happening. So our outdoor education team, who is obviously very passionate about this, has spent hours and days and weeks looking at our program and deciding how we can make it happen in the same impactful way, but within our own campus. So over the last couple of years, since we've had to cancel our traveling trips, our students have had the opportunity to be on our campus and outside of our walls in Singapore, and having the same kinds of opportunities where they're taking risks and trying different activities that they wouldn't get within that classroom setting. Louisa, please. So here we have a slide that's a comparison of a past trip where they maybe had gone to Malaysia to what's happening currently on our Dover campus. And although it's maybe not as exotic that it's happening on the campus, it's still certainly as impressive, and the students really do love it. So they've had the opportunity to go orienteering around the campus. They've had or set fires or roast marshmallows or set up shelters. And if you were to speak to any junior student who has just finished the camps within the last few weeks, they would say it was the best times of their lives, and the best thing for them was that they weren't at their desks and they were out exploring the areas around them. Thanks, Louisa. And our last element, and one that's, I think that probably sets us a little bit apart from other international schools, is that we have an outstanding service program at our school. So our service program goes through and we offer support at a campus level, at a local level, and also out to global concerns across our borders. And it is our purpose that we want to make sure that we are supporting each other in any way possible and offering our students the chance to see what it's like for other people and to show our compassion and care for them. So we have, at the college level, our students would be involved in doing things around the campus, beautifying our campus, helping to support the students and adults that are here along with us every day. So this could be where we have older students are reading to younger students. Perhaps we're doing some campus gardening or helping to participate in canteen cleanups, which then supports our facilities teams and the hard work that they do. We would also then have a component where our students have the opportunity to go out into Singapore and venture beyond our gates, and they're helping our communities out there. So they may go out and do a beach cleanup, or perhaps we would have one of our schools that we have a special education school called Genesis. So we invite them to come onto our campus and our students offer them a program while they're here. And then finally, our other service that we offer is looking after and sponsoring and helping out our global concerns. So this gives our students an opportunity.
I'm sorry, Erin, you're muted. Could you unmute, please?
Thank you. Sorry about that. To give our students an opportunity to see about new cultures and different perspectives and what it's like for people who are living in different countries that are sponsored by our NGOs and supported by NGOs. So within our junior school, we support, for example, we have Uwcsea in Bali that we support, as well as Tabitha in Cambodia. And I know that Joel has already mentioned this, back to this importance of our program is really based upon having people, our students, develop empathy for each other and for people in different parts of the world, and looking at the talents and the skills that everybody has to offer and how we can support each other in these endeavors. Okay, thanks, Louisa. So you have heard from a lot of adults, and so now we'd like to offer you an opportunity to hear the student voice, which is really the most important thing. And so we want you to have, we've asked some of our younger students a few questions, and this is their perspective on what life is like for them in our junior school and in our infant school. And so thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and enjoy the rest of your presentation.
Reading, math, circle solutions. We learn math. We learn to be kinder than kind, how to respect each other, how to be brave, and how to help each other.
Well, I learned about everything. We started playing, and then we put our play hat on, then we go outside to play.
We learn how to be safe and communicating to each other, and also getting together and getting to know each other.
I learn I learn numbers.
You learn how to be kind and caring, and you learn different subjects too, like math, reading, and writing. That the teachers are very nice. I like some activities that we do in class, like PE and art.
That I learn new things and I get smarter every day.
My favorite thing is doing the eye time because it's really fun when you make stuff.
The best part of being a student here at UWC is hanging out with your friends and playing around in the playground and learning with very happy teachers.
My teacher likes everyone.
Cool. My teacher likes playing nicely. He always teach me how to play. He always teach me how to read the books, because when you pick a book that don't know how to read, you give it to the teacher to read it for us. They are nice and they keep us safe, like our mom and dad.
They're really helpful. If you're stuck on something, they can help you.
Like kind to the students and pretty respectful.
Fun, nice, they're kind, and if you need help, you can just ask them and they'll help you.
So they are kind, they are respectful, and they're kind to students.
The teachers are very nice and they always help you whenever you need it. They're always there.
My class teacher, she's so great. Like, she's so caring about their students, and the teachers in UWC are fabulous.
Be respectful and responsible. Don't worry about anything because the teachers can help you with everything. Whenever you're new to the school, you get a buddy. A buddy is someone that has been a long time in the school, and they show you around the school, so they'll always stay with you, so you won't get lost.
I would say, be yourself.
Don't be afraid to ask. There are lots of nice kids in UWC, and you'll make a lot of friends.
Don't worry, UWC is a very good school. Teachers are very nice, so you can just act nice and everything will be solved.
Well, as you walk in the door, you might think, wow, this is a big school. But as the years go by, you'll see that it's actually not that bad and you can make lots of friends.
I think UWC really inspired my mind.
That this is a good school, but you can choose which school you can send your child to. But I think this is a good school. Fun, and I don't even want to go home again.
Okay, thank you. I always enjoy watching that. So that's yeah, as somebody said to you there, can I just have the next slide, please, Uwcsea? Because there's just one more point that I want to make before we hand over to questions. Please, can you add any questions to the Q&A function at the bottom? We've got very few questions, but that'll probably change. I do want to make a point. Somebody said there, one of the kids said, you know, that you can choose whatever school you want for your child, but I think this is a good school. After the Q&A, I believe you're going to be brought on a virtual tour of the school and shown some of the facilities. And very much, we are very fortunate. We have incredibly impressive facilities and Olympic-sized swimming pools and all those kinds of things, amazing music suite. But I would encourage you, not to be impressed by them. Because the facilities don't really make the school. What they provide is a fantastic opportunity for the teachers to provide an unbelievably deep and broad program with the best of the resources you could possibly have. But really, in this school and in any school, it is the teachers that make it. We are very, very fortunate. You'll notice in the things that we are the most proud of as a school, which is really about the service, global concerns, all those aspects, they are all genuinely student-led initiatives. And really the students in the school, the voice that we give them and the opportunities that we give them, I think what we are good at as an institution is giving them that voice and giving them space and sometimes giving them budgets to get on with these things and fail over here and succeed over here. And I think we're good as a school at doing that, but it is the students that make us look good, I have to say. And if your children come here, we'll look even better. So I think, Malika, I'm right in thinking that we move on to questions and answers now. Is that right?
That is correct, Brian. And at this point, I'm going to invite our moderator of this next session, who is our Vice Principal of the Infant School, Vicky Wright, to take over. Vicky is going to take a look at your questions that you're submitting through that Q&A platform, the Q&A button, and she will direct those to our learning leadership team. Thanks, Vicky. Over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to start with a question which is popular with parents, but not so much with students. Could somebody talk through the homework that the children get in the junior school?
This is where you see how a principal delegates. This is so yeah, we do give the children homework. It can be a consolidation of something they've already done. It can be an introduction to something. It's very often something that they need to prepare. So it might be that they're surveying parents, or they're bringing in artifacts or those kinds of things. We're very, very keen that the homework has some cognitive educational value. We're not big believers in giving out homework just because you're supposed to give out homework. As we go through the grades, I think, Ali and Aaron, if you were to start with grade 2, I mean, it's a lot. We know we're very keen on reading, for example. Do you want to talk more about that? Somebody? I'm happy to keep going.
I can add to that. I think, as Brian's saying, it builds over the years. And so for sure in grade 2, it really is a focus on reading, maybe a bit of word study or a little bit of maths practice. A lot of our homework is practice. So something you've learned in class, you're going to practice it at home. And then we just build on it a little bit every year, but making sure that there's quality over quantity and keeping it manageable. Kids have lots that they do outside of school as well. And so just making sure it's a manageable amount of homework.
Yep, thank you. We've got lots of questions that are coming through about the pandemic and how that's impacted teaching and learning. I know, Erin, you spoke a little bit to the outdoor and activities in the service program, how they'd had to be modified, but lots of questions about mask wearing, how that's impacted. I know, Ali, you spoke about how we used to sit in a circle for circle time and we can't now. So if we could just talk a little bit about the adaptations that teachers have made.
Sure, I'll start, and then Brian and Erin, you can just pitch in if you like. Yeah, definitely the mask wearing has an impact, but I think we're now in our second year of that. The kids are kind of getting used to it, and so are the teachers of wearing the masks. But yes, we can't sit on the carpet because we can't gather too close, but we still run those circle solutions lessons, those PSE lessons, just sitting at our desks rather than gathered at the carpet. I think, you know, it's going to continue to impact us. We have to be in small groups and we're adjusting. But like I said, I feel like the kids are really adaptable around that. Do you want to add anything, Erin?
I think one of the other things that we've had to do, of course, is separate children outside. So we've definitely put value into being able to go out and play, but we've ensured that while they're out there, they're in their grade groupings and that they're having still that opportunity to get out and move, but keeping them safe by managing the amount of people that are out with them while they're playing. And we have schedules and zoned areas to keep everybody safe where we can.
Thank you. So we don't stream children by ability, but could you talk a little about how we differentiate so that the full range of abilities that are in a classroom that needs are met?
I'm not sure. I mean, it depends on the subject, I guess. So in mathematics, for example, where we can see a range in one classroom of almost 6, 7, 8 years of learning between what you would call a child who has much more advanced understanding and skills and processes in maths than another child. And really, we try to look for self-leveling activities. Mathematics is an interesting one because the concept and the content are very much the same. And so we do provide differing content sometimes, but often the differentiation isn't just about differentiating the content. So sometimes we're differentiating the process or the expected product. Sometimes we have to differentiate the environment for children as well. So there's a huge amount of differentiation happening. The writing program, the reading program is very much self-leveling because they are reading and writing at the level that we are expecting of that individual child. The reading and writing workshop factors that in, and it's based on constant feedback from the teacher. And I think most of the other mathematics is the one where we notice it the most. And we also differentiate within, but by streaming, not just in Chinese, but also Spanish and French. We introduce beginners Spanish in the, let me get this right, in the odd years, that right? So grade 1, grade 3, grade 5, grade 7, you can join a beginner's Spanish. And then in the even years, grade 2, 4, 6, 8, we introduce French. And then we have continuation French. And we have first language Chinese, second language Chinese, beginners Chinese. But I think the reading and writing program we've chosen specifically for differentiation because differentiation is designed into it. Anything to add, Ali and Erin?
I think just that we have quite a robust learning support department as well that can help, you know, students who need extra support. We'll get that through the learning support department and possibly even the EAL department. So those are other ways that we're differentiating and meeting needs of students in classrooms.
And Brian, you touched briefly there on languages. Would you just be able to explain a little more about how often languages happen and how the home language program connects into that?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we do languages. The children get 4 lessons of languages every week. So a lesson is about 35, 40 minutes. And that's for all 3 languages that we provide in the curriculum. The home languages program is that's an optional program that some parents sign up for. We have, I can't even remember how many languages we're currently catering for that. That happens at lunchtime after school, and that is for first language speakers of that language. So we have tiny little numbers and we have huge numbers in some languages, and that supplements we're huge believers in the development of language. If you're not careful, your child can end up going through their whole childhood and teenage years with no richness in any one language, and they really should have a real rich, nuanced understanding of an idiom of their own language. And so we try as best we can to cater for those. When we have a new language that we don't cater for already, sometimes parents will say, any chance you could provide, and go and find a teacher for whatever the end of that sentence is. I think we do that if we can find 3 students, we'll do it. Very often parents are coming saying, and we have already found this person that will teach it for you. So we obviously vet those teachers, and that, you know, we make sure we do all the background checks and all those kinds, and make sure that they are actually teachers with teaching degrees first. But it's the big challenge we have is finding rooms at lunchtime and after school for the number of languages we have. There's a huge demand in our rooms. And so when teachers are asked, any chance we could have your room, everyone takes an interest in their shoes for a few minutes and hopes somebody else puts their hand up. But so it is becoming quite a challenge. So I actually don't know how many languages we have, but based on the amount of rooms that we're asked for, there's a huge number. I should know that, I'm sorry. Maybe we can find that out before we finish.
So there's quite a lot of questions coming through. Malika, will you let me know when we're coming close to the end of our time? Because I'll just keep asking questions otherwise, because there's lots now.
Yes, please keep going, Vicky, and I'll do that. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got some questions about teacher ratio and teaching assistants in the junior school. So Erin, I don't know if you could just give us a little bit more information about that.
So yes, I can. Within each of our classes, we have between 22 and 23 students. And starting at grade 2, we would have 1 teaching assistant per class to support the teachers. And then moving up into grade 3, 4, and 5, we would have 3 or 4 teaching assistants that are there to support. So they wouldn't necessarily support one class, but they would share the load between 2 or 3 different classes and helping to support the teaching teams.
That's great. Thank you. And Ali, I think this is a good question for you, because it leads on from the PSE section that you spoke about. But a question about what happens if 2 children have a conflict in class. What are some of the strategies and things we use to help the children with that?
Definitely, that's good. So some of that work is done in a proactive way through our curriculum, in that we're teaching kids how to solve conflict, and we're talking through scenarios as they move through the school, posing scenarios that we know are likely to arise at different grades. But then inevitably it happens, and we take a restorative approach to that. So talking through it with the involved students, talking through the harm that was caused, and ultimately trying to restore the relationship and learn from our experience. And so we often involve both parties and the kids who are there, and having a conversation about what has happened and what we should have done differently and how we can learn from it and move on.
And just a follow-up question to that, how does the school counselling department connect to that work as well?
Well, we work very closely with the counseling department in a team approach, so team around the children approach. And so they do also some proactive things. So they work with in classrooms, doing stories and assemblies and things around relationships. But then often too, they'll work with small groups and with an identified need. You know, if there's a group of girls who are having trouble getting along, they might work with them to do that. And similarly, you know, kids having any sort of issues on the playground, they would take groups and work with them alongside Erin and I.
Thank you. Could one of you talk a little bit more about the activity program and how that runs and works in the junior school? I know that there's many that go on at different times.
We have a really wide variety of options for our children in the activities program. So they can do sporting activities or crafts or learning some type of new skill like sewing or coding or something like that. And so we have 4 seasons of activities that are offered to our students, and the listing goes out to the parents, and the parents can submit in a request for their children to be in those activities. And then it goes by, sometimes the child will get in for that season, other times they maybe have to wait, but we do our best to try and have each child have an opportunity to participate in things that they would like to do. And then there's just a huge wide variety, and there's so many things they can be trying out.
And there's a question here.
Vicky, sorry, about what we don't do in our activities program, because you know, again, it's one of the distinguishing features of this school. You will find some schools who will pour all their resources into 4 or 5 sports, for example, and they develop those and become really good at them, and they become unbeatable in the leagues around town. And we don't allow children actually to pick rugby and do nothing but rugby, or to pick netball and do nothing but netball. We really don't permit that to happen, because the seasons don't permit them to happen. So we're very much keen on the idea of giving children lots and lots of different activities and lots of different experiences when they're younger. And then as they get older, for sure, we sacrifice some of that breadth for more depth in you know, in their specific areas of interest. But we're very keen that the children have loads of things thrown at them when they're younger, and then they learn what they like, and they also learn what they don't like, which is just as important. And so it's all basing that the activities program is part of the program. It's not some after school fluffy thing. We're very, very keen that they are very much immersed in lots and lots of experiences, but we don't focus on just a few.
I've had some questions about mixing of age groups, and do some of the older children get to work with the younger children, and how does that program work? And is it still happening now due to the pandemic?
Yeah, we are permitted. So there's huge restrictions at the moment. So that, you know, there are definitely 2 ways to answer that, like pre-COVID and currently what's happening. But normally, yes, there's lots of, we do boarding buddies where we buddy up with the boarding house kids. We have high school kids who come in and help. And there's, it's one of the beautiful, beautiful features of being in a K-12 campus. And so we have, you know, again, junior school kids reading in the infant school classrooms, all those kinds of things that we normally do that we're not permitted to do, because we're not permitted to mingle between the grades at the moment. What we are permitted to do, and that we are still doing, is as long as there is a register and we know where this child was and who would be the contacts of that child if anything should happen. So we, on a much more limited basis, we still have some of that happening, but it's a fraction of what we normally do. But we're trying as best we can within, you know, staying within the boundaries of what's allowed. But we do get quite close to the boundaries of what's allowed when we can. But we have to be compliant, and so we are. But we do as much as the restrictions permit us to do still. Is there anything else, Erin and Ali, to say about that there?
I think just on the playground normally too, right? They would be mixed across the junior school. And now we've had to separate them, like Erin said, into zones by grade. And so generally that's an opportunity for them to mix multi-grade as well. And then through the activities program is another place where they see other grades when the activities are on.
Would one of you be able to talk a little bit about screen time and how that looks in the junior school?
The junior school, this week is a bad week to ask us, because we're back on home-based learning mandated by the government in junior school. So screen time in normal time, I wonder, is that what's meant by the question? I think we have, despite all the technological difficulties we've had today, I should point out we were IT School of the Year in 2018. But we're very much believers that technology can be a computer or an iPad, but the technology can also be a stick and a pebble and a piece of chalk. And so we're not slavishly following, you know, everything must be done on computers or else it's not Fabo education. So we are very much, we use technology when it actually adds to something that transforms something that we can't otherwise do in any other way. But technology is very much, paper and pencil is also technology. And so I think, I don't know, you guys, if there's more to say about screen time. I think there are some things that we're using, some of the mathematical apps and stuff like that we're using that require screen time, but we are not, you know, certainly the kids are not going to be on their iPads and on their computers all day, every day when they're in lessons. Yeah.
No, definitely not. And I would say, you know, part of using the screen or the technology is kind of how are they processing their work. And I would say as they move up through the grades, they do more of the processing of their work, like writing written assignments on the computer. In grade 5, they would do more of that in grade 5 than they would in grade 2. Certainly, they would use pencil and paper more for that. But I think you've covered it there, Brian.
And I've been given my warning. This is the last question. So I just would like to know a little bit more about English as an additional language and what provision and the program looks like for that.
Okay, so again, that is almost considered part of, one of our languages. We do have children who come who would find it difficult to access the curriculum in class. It's highly collaborative, the way that we learn here. And so it's the purpose of the EAL program is to equip the children with the English proficiency that they require, that they need in order to access the curriculum and the program independently or with minimal support, the kind of support that the classroom teacher could provide. What we, at the moment on this campus, and this isn't true at East Campus, but it is true here, we don't, when you are part of the EAL program, and while you're in that, which can be for a year or a year and a half, depending, you cannot study Chinese, Spanish, or French at that time. And so that's how we run it here. So it's a beautiful little department, which apart from teaching the children the English proficiency skills, they're very much a department that puts their arm around the parents in that community. And again, it's so sad to talk about non-COVID times. Actually, Ali, this is our 3rd year doing this, not our 2nd year. It's our 3rd year with masks and all those kinds of things. So there's a lot that we can't do, but normally we have parents in for coffee mornings. We quite often find, like every other school, that English language learners among the students, quite often their parents are also not very proficient in English and they need so much help, especially if they're new to Singapore. And the EAL department here will help them, not just with their English, but will help them to, they'll say this is the best place in Singapore to go and get school uniforms, or this is the best place to go and buy shoes, or this is the best place for electronics. They're very, very they're very much a department that puts their arm around the whole community, and it's a beautiful place, like the English as an additional language department. Yeah, it's again, that is withdrawn support, where they're withdrawn during languages time. There is also then, as they transition out, they can get support within their own classrooms or during literacy time, during maths time, depending on what it is. Then the English language teachers are also planning with teams and providing ideas and little techniques to help the English language learners in their rooms to front load them with whatever vocabulary they need or whatever it might be that they need. So it's a very, very integrated program.
Thank you, Melika. I think that's us out of time, so I'll hand over to you now.
Thank you very much, Vicky. And I want to add my thanks to Brian, Erin, and Ali for your presentation, and to our audience for bearing with us through some unexpected technical glitches this morning or this afternoon. So thank you all. I know you have a busy rest of your day, so we are going to bid you farewell, leadership team, but we will carry on. And thank you to our audience for hanging in there with us. We are now going to invite you to enjoy a virtual tour of our junior school. We are really sorry we cannot have you onto campus just yet. But meanwhile, we hope you get a good sense of our spaces and facilities, and most importantly, what our student experience of the campus is like through this virtual tour. Thank you. Okay, we hope you enjoyed our virtual tour, everyone. And we, of course, are looking forward to being able to welcome you to the campus once that is possible again.